Now, I'd like to make an analogy between our physiology and our psychology because it illustrates really well the promise and the objective of this course, making that analogy. You know, way back when, before germ theory, they had all these ideas of all these external threats, like, demons and stuff like that, that would make people sick. You see? And then when they discovered germ theory, they realized that there are these biological entities called germs that would infect people and make them sick. And it explained why people died from operations and the importance of taking of cleaning off the instruments, sanitizing the instruments, and it changed the whole field of medicine. But the interesting thing is, way back when, they just thought we have to protect people from germs. They're foreign invaders, and that's the problem we have. Well, as they looked more in that direction and had discoveries in that direction, they realized that if you took a sample off someone's tongue, you'd find any number of diseases there, and yet the person didn't get those diseases, and they realized that there was this intermediary called the immune system. And the immune system would not only protect you from getting illnesses, but if you got an illness, you would get over it faster. So that now we discovered with some of the immune system illnesses that when people's immune systems are weak, they don't get over things. So the problem isn't that they get colds, it's that they don't get over the colds as fast. Now, this is a perfect parallel to what I'm going to call a psychological immune system. That if you go out and look in the world, you'll notice that some people get bent, spindled, and mutilated by life more than others. And those people that get affected adversely more than others are always the ones who have trouble getting over what they get affected by. So it's a double liability. You get affected more, and it's harder for you to get over it. On the other hand, you get people who we would say are high functioning, who not only don't they get affected as much, but when they do get affected, they get affected earlier. And I'm saying that that's what we might call our psychological immune system. Okay? And it's our psychological immune system that protects us from getting bent, spindled, and mutilated by life, and also aids us in getting over it when we do. So we don't get upset as often. We don't lose our bearings as often, and when we do, we get over them faster. Now, the good news is that a psychological immune system is made up completely of understanding. That to the degree that you have an understanding of how the mind works and where your experience comes from, you have that understanding. The more understanding you have, the stronger your immune system. So if you doubled your understanding of what's behind our psychology, your immune system would be twice as strong, and you would be, half as likely to get affected by things and get over them in half the time, using that metaphor. So that's the hope and the promise of this course, is that it will provide you with an understanding, and every little bit of understanding that you get will increase your psychological immune system strength and it give you a nicer life as a result. Now, when I say a nicer life, I mean feeling better, performing better, because your mind will be clearer, and you won't be, let's say, restricted by, troublesome thoughts. Your relationship, your sense of connectedness with other people will improve. Everything across the board. It's all ships rise with the tide. Another way to say this is another metaphor, is in sports they have what they call physical fitness as a variable in sports. And if you go to any of the teams, visited them, you would see they have physical fitness trainers. They have tremendous fitness facilities with weights and machines. They have doctors, and they have some of them do stretching and yoga and stuff like that. But the world of sports absolutely gets that physical fitness is a common denominator, empowerment, in every single sport. So in basketball, the strength of your legs determined how well you shoot jump shots in the last period. Even football players, as they get stronger, they get more fit, they get less injuries, and they have more endurance. Now, it wasn't that long ago that they made that discovery. Back in the early 50s, Red Auerbach from the Boston Celtics came up with the idea that physical fitness had something to do with basketball performance. At that time, athletes were smoking, drinking heavily, and then showing up the next day for the game. They didn't do any laps. There was no such thing as a weight room. There was no such thing as a trainer. So Red Auerbach comes in and he starts, he brings in physical fitness. Doesn't want them to smoke, has them run laps. Well, the other teams didn't get it because physical fitness was not part of their world, not part of their thinking. So they couldn't understand why they could keep up with the Celtics for 3 periods, and in the 4th period they'd get behind, and they thought it was their strategies, and they weren't concentrating enough. And it wasn't. It was physical fitness. And in football, it began with the Kansas City Chiefs in the 60s. They're the first ones to have a weight room and to have trainers in there, and their players were stronger. They were more injury resistant. They had more endurance. And they began to see how physical fitness affected football performance. So, for example, the quarterbacks, they found out that the quarterbacks throw with their legs. When your legs get fatigued, you don't throw as accurately. The same way when you take a jump shot in basketball, you don't shoot as accurately. Now, the equivalent psychologically is that as people's psychological fitness improves, they not only become more resilient, as we talked about earlier, they become more ingenious. They have more creative, ingenious ideas. When their minds are freed and their minds are clear, and they're coming from a good state, human beings just become geniuses. They have wonderful senses of humor. They come up with incredible new ideas, original thought. The more connected they are with others. So you have all the things that we value: genius, joy, creativity, love. All of those increase as our physical fitness increases, as our psychological fitness increases. Okay? Now, here's the bonus. There's some limit as to how much physical fitness you can have. It's diminishing returns. It depends on the type of muscles that you have. It depends on your genetics. Some people just have bigger lungs. I mean, there's so many factors. So it's diminishing returns. Psychologically, there's no limit. It's not diminishing returns. There's no limit as to how ingenious people can be. There's no limit as to how joyful they can be, and how loving they can be, and how connected they can be with others. And they bring all of those qualities to their performance. So if you're the CEO of a company and your psychological fitness increases so that you're now, more present, more in the moment, you're more connected with your customers and with your employees. You come up with better ideas than you did before because of your psychological fitness, so your strategies are sounder, you're farther ahead of the curve, your vision is better, you're able to see problems ahead of time. Well, that makes you a much, much, much better CEO. And the beauty is, you didn't have to go to graduate school in order to do that. And you didn't have to go down to a sweaty gym either. You know, all you had to do was get more understanding. And this course is like generic understanding. Okay? It's like, I think of it as kind of freeze-dried. That everybody has this freeze-dried wisdom in them. And as they get, the understanding is like the water, and it brings their innate wisdom and their innate potential alive. And that's how people actualize their potential. So that's, in short, that is the promise of this course, is to take you in that direction, in the direction of psychological fitness and giving you a stronger psychological immune system, which are really both the same thing. They're both just understanding as it's actualized in people's lives.